Let's go to business news now with Giles Beckford. And Giles, you had a flood of earnings reports today, and I think you're going to pick out the biggies for us, are you?
I'll try to, John. Good evening too. The two big ones really were the power companies Mercury and Genesis, and they told contrasting stories about the state of the hydrology, as they call it in the trade, basically lake levels. Now remember, we were doing quite well. They were brimming full at the start of the year, but in that last few months we've had a dry winter. That meant the southern lakes were parched, pretty low levels there, historic lows. Contrasting that, the North Island hydro schemes were just brimming with water. So that suited Mercury, where they've got their hydro in the North Island. That meant they could sell high-priced electricity to the south. Poor old Genesis, on the other hand, has got some of its generation down in the South Island. That meant they had to fire up their costly Huntly power station, which is coal and gas fired. It's expensive to run to be able to cover themselves. So Mercury had a rise in its profit, up around 15%. Genesis was flat. A notable feature of both companies, though, is when you take out all the fluctuations and with its hydrology and generation costs, is the need to hang on to customers. We've got flat demand in this country at the moment, with power growth no more than a couple of % a year at best. There's no need for new power stations, so you scramble for every punter that you can get. You tempt them with broadband, you tempt them with gas and with electricity. In Genesis' case, they tempt them also with LPG if they need it, and that's where you maximise your earnings. And the churn rate, which is basically the number of disconnections or power switching that you see, is 1 in 5. 20% of New Zealand customers, electricity customers, switch power companies in a year. That's costly, but it also hurts having to try and make them up. Mercury actually seems to have found some sort of formula, because they added 16,000 customers in the past year. So contrasting shades there. They both arrived at roughly the same position, but the outlook for them, of course, is emphasis on customer service.
Thanks, Giles. Who else was reporting today? And that's a bit of a trick question, because we kind of answered it ourselves about 10 minutes ago, didn't we?
That's right. You went in there with Sky TV. I know you got captured by the declining numbers. Somebody said it may be a sunset industry. I think that's probably going a bit too far. When you notice that it's got 800,000 subscribers, that's what, a fifth or so of the country. It's still a pretty good consumer base.
And Giles, 800,000 subscribers is presumably Sky boxes, right? So that's households.
This is Sky boxes, yes.
Yeah.
Right,
so
precisely.
That's households and businesses, and so that's a hell of a lot more people, isn't it? So it's still a big chunk of the population.
Indeed it is. And so although technology is catching up with them, video streaming is also catching up with them. As Zach was saying there, I know sports is the winner for a lot of people. One reason why Sky wanted to get closely, in fact wanted to marry Vodafone, was because Vodafone's got a wonderful box. It's OTT, over the top. It's basically you deliver streaming video through the internet, and the box will do it for you. So you can have your little packages, your little niche service here, your one program there that you want to follow. That is the shade of the future. It's present overseas, not in New Zealand yet to any extent. Sky and Vodafone, they are still mates. They will do as much as they can without exciting the authorities on the competition front. One of the things about Sky, though, was that it didn't quite espouse where it's going, what it wants to do. The market didn't particularly like that. It was sent down to an 8-year low, 9-year low, in fact, for the share price, down 3%. So there was a bit of hammering there. The other company, which is one that just quietly chuntles along, it's Tourism Holdings. Now, they're the people who operate the camper van fleets around this country. You see millions of them, especially during things like the Rugby Tour, the Lions Tour, you know, just hordes of them. They're run by Tourism Holdings. They had a record profit, $30 million. They're a company that's going places. They've reinvented themselves in the past decade. They used to run helicopters. They don't have a helicopter in sight now, but they have got several hundred camper vans, and they make them as well, and they run the Waitomo Cave visit. So there's a company that's going places. More business, I think, more good business for them while the tourism boom lasts.
Thanks, Giles. What else happened on the markets today?
The market was flat. It is literally down a fraction of a point at 7867 for the top 50, and the New Zealand dollar is becalmed at 73.2 US cents and 92.2 Australian.
Giles Beckford, our business editor, thank you.